Greetings, Flesh Wound Horror freaks, and welcome to Flesh Wound Horror Live. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined by producer Todd.
Good evening.
Pugs Dread in the sunlight tonight.
Namaste.
And our special guests from Feed Me, which we just reviewed not too long ago. We have Neal Ward, Richard Oakes, and pardon me, I'm fighting a cold. Todd, help me out.
And Adam, is it Leader?
Leader.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I couldn't get it out. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
I'm fighting the vid, guys, but I'm
Oh, you got the COVID? No.
I did. First time.
You did.
But
I
I'm
just got
doing
over that shit. So I
you
feel you, man. I hope you feel better.
it. Yeah, it's mild, so pretty good. But
Have
gentlemen,
you got some bleaching? Have you got some bleaching?
Trump said it'll kill it. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll kill
Piss and
something.
blood,
but-
but
I told him to wait till we're
No.
done, just in case.
Do live on the show right at the end. So give these guys something cool to watch.
There you go. It'll get clicks, I'm sure. So that's
I can't be here the entire time, but I just want to thank these gentlemen for popping up and also, most importantly, making one of my favorite movies of this year. You guys did an outstanding fucking job. I can't thank you guys enough. That shit was rad as fuck. So
Oh, mate. Thank you, man. Does your work colleagues know who you're on with? They might let you stay a bit longer.
maybe. They subscribe, so who knows? Yeah.
just screen the movie for him, Pugs. It's all
There
good.
you go.
Actually, I'm no longer allowed ever since I suggested a Serbian film. Everyone's just like, nope, we're not doing it.
Fucking lot of Serbian film is not the one for evening viewing.
No. So, gentlemen, obviously we love the movie. If you guys saw our review out there, tell us a little bit. How did it come to be for you guys?
Well, we were on a shoot about a year and a half ago, and I'm a massive fan of like true crime and all that kind of stuff. It really fascinates me, and I've I've watched it all my life. I love it. I'm a serial killer fanatic. So
Amen, brother.
and
You got
I
Gacy
thought-
jerky.
oh, nice. Aren't they doing a John Wayne Gacy thing next?
The monster thing, I think they're going
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, man.
I really hope they do Ed Kemper too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Mm,
I
yeah,
can't
for
wait.
sure.
Can't wait. But so the Armin Muse story really fascinated me, and I just floated the idea to Rich, and I said, why don't we write a story inspired by that? Just the similar kind of concept, which is the most bizarre fucking thing ever. Like more far-fetched than anything you see in the movie. You know, like that is the most far-fetched thing. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about, and then we fleshed out this story together.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because I'm sure I think we brought it up in the review that Armin Muse case is just bonkers.
It's mad, man. Yeah.
It's so crazy to think that really happened. And Neal, did you like fashion your performance after anything in particular, or
Way before. So I'm an anti-Apple guy, so I never had Apple TV over here. If you're going for the Ted Lasso thing, then it was done way before we knew about that. The first we knew about that was after we'd sort of done the pre-production on the film, and Rich and Adam had gone through what they kind of wanted with Lionel as a character, and then I sort of went away and developed that. When you're an English guy and you kind of learn, like you want to learn like a Southern accent and do something like that, it's just the way my voice fit with an American accent and with a sort of Texan Tennessee kind of mishmash. And then just with the character, with the mustache, it was going for the sort of Dharma-esque kind of look anyway, with the sort of blonde weird hair and the mustache and the glasses, as obviously you can see in the film. But then just the way that it started to play, it became very much like that. But we had a message from our American producer, Ed Polgardi, when we'd sent through some rushes from one of the days filming. And he went, "Hey, do you know what you remind me of? You remind me of this guy. Like, check this guy out, Ted Lasso." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Ted Lasso, man? Like, I don't anything to do with like the football. I've not really followed anything like that." So I checked it out and then looked at the photo and then looked at a trailer and went, "Oh, for fuck's sake." I can see where everyone's going with that, going, it sounds just like him. There was a whole thing on Twitter while we were out in LA where there was people going, "Oh my God, Jason Sudeikis is doing this new cannibal film, man. How's he managed to fit that in whilst filming Ted Lasso?" And it's like, "Oh man, no, it's me." And people were like, "No, it's not. No, it's not." I'm like, yeah, it is. So yeah, it was done before, and then it was outlined to us, or to us all, that it was similar, but in no way copied. I basically was trying to go for a serious approach, like a Josh Brolin sort of Tommy Lee Jones, John Bernthal approach, and it ended up Foghorn Leghorn, Eugene from The Walking Dead, and Beetlejuice. So,
But it works though. You killed it.
Yeah,
exactly, man.
It gave me a Napoleon Dynamite vibe, but like I don't want to hang out with that version.
Yeah.
Not share a meal.
It seems to happen to us though, because when we released Host kind of nipped in there just before us, even though it was shot after us, and it was just like, because we were literally finishing the edit when the pandemic happened, and then obviously Host is a pandemic movie, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you copying that film?" It was like, no. So it seems to be something we do, is just, and everyone's like, "Oh, these guys jumping on the cannibal bandwagon." When we started Feed Me, there was none of that bandwagon. Like, everyone has kind of jumped on the same thing this year. Strangely, I think there's just a zeitgeist that comes out with films. Do you know what I mean?
It was probably because it was hard to find food. Everyone's like, "Well, I guess we can eat each other for like that first 2 months of bullshit."
Yeah, sure.
Host is actually getting some love in the chats right now. Ben Grimm says these guys directed Host, which has one of the most jaw-dropping dinner table scenes in horror.
Literally.
Neal, you definitely were successful, because I've got a friend that just texted, is like, "That's not the same guy, is it?" So you definitely disappeared into the role quite well.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm glad it did, because there's nothing worse as an actor when you've literally a lot of my other roles have been like just really quite serious, unhinged, Tom Hardy-esque performances. So it's just seriousness, ultra realism, straight all the way through. So when I can switch that on quite easily, which I do a couple of times in the film. But for this, I've not done comedy or any kind of dark black humor for a long time. Sort of lost touch with it, and then I thought, I'm going to go in deep with this. I did with me and Chris Mulvin, who plays Jed. We worked like a good 2-3 weeks before, just going through certain scenes, just so we were comfortable with them, and then let Rich and Adam direct the shit out of it on set. So it was what you saw in the final product. But it's always a bit disappointing when someone go, "You're just copying someone," and I'm like, "Nah, dude, like." There's no copying involved. I think with every art form, music, art, film, anything like that, you're always going to have influences, but from something that I had never seen. And I've seen Jason Sudeikis before do things, but I'd never heard of this Ted Lasso. So it's just an uncanny coincidence, which if it's cool and it's getting love, that's fine. But to be told it's copying, it's like, I ain't copy shit, man. I created this with Richard and Adam's direction all the way through from start to finish, and we create something unique in our eyes. And then just to see poor old Ted Lasso just lapping up all my credit, I was like, no, dude, no.
Well, you guys, it's a great film, because again, it's hard to balance the darkness that is there for those of you who haven't watched it yet. Pretty dark, depressing, particularly beginning. So to be able to make that tone shift, I think you, Richard and Adam, I think you did an amazing job making that happen. That is not easy. I've failed at it before. It's just so hard to balance it. So we think this is definitely a flesh wound movie, because it did it just perfect.
Well, we were successful depending on who you talk to, and luckily enough, we're talking to you guys. So.
Those other people are fucking crazy. There's something for everyone in this movie. The tone, you have from lighthearted comedy to like super dark gross, disgusting shit. So like it fits perfectly for somebody like me. So hell yes.
That's great, and it's kind of what we set out to do. Was we did have a discussion when we were writing the story. It was like me and Adam just love kind of stupid kind of stuff, and that's always kind of something that we always go back to. But our last film wasn't that much comedy involved. It was funny to us, but only because the situations are so kind of bleak that it kind of makes you laugh. Like, so a lot of people vibe with that as well, and laugh at the story scenes that we laughed at, and everyone on set was like, "Why are you laughing?" And we're like, "Is this not funny?" But it wasn't meant to be like a straight up comedy. So with this one, we were like, "Look, we can either go the safe route and just kind of do the paint by numbers type of thing and try and tick the boxes that we feel would make it more successful, or we can kind of just make it what we want it, which is a bit more balmy and a bit kind of throwing the audience here, there, and everywhere." And we're like, well, this is our movie. Let's do what we want to do. And why would you want to make films for someone else that's not your taste? Do you know what I mean? Why, when you've got the opportunity, let's make something that we enjoy and that we find fun and that we get a kick out of. Do you know what I mean? So we decided back then to do that. And so it isn't for everyone. I think, Dan, you said like on the thing that there's some people I don't think this will work with, and others that will find it too muddled. And I understand that, and I think that is the case. But for the people that do get it, I think it's done really well, and that's great. That's kind of sitting where we're sitting, I guess.
Absolutely. There's so much cookie cutter streaming, just very safe stuff out there right now, which we review that too. So it's always great to have something that feels it's not just trying to be the same old shit. And I think you guys did a fantastic job. I really hope it gels with anybody that's listening to this. Seek it out. I think it is worth it.
I've been telling everybody to check it out for sure because, again, big fan. But I got to get going. So Neal, Richard, Adam, thank you guys very much for showing up. And again, I will support you guys in whatever you do. You guys seem fucking awesome. So, thank you guys. And before you leave, make sure you promote all your shit that's coming up because I need to follow. Thank you guys.
For sure, man.
Later, Pugs.
All right. Well, we actually got a question from the chat from Big T. What are some other bizarre true stories you would like to adapt to the big screen?
Well, I would have loved to have done Dharma myself, but that's would have loved to have done John Wayne Gacy, but that's fucking been or gonna be done. So I feel like
Ted Bundy been done well yet, Adam? Has it? Has Ted Bundy been done well? I don't know if it's been done well.
It's been done. It's been done it's been put out by much bigger people than ourselves to a much wider audience than we can ever put out to. So it wouldn't be worth it.
Give it a year, man. Give us a year or two, and then I reckon we'll be all right. We'll be flying high with those guys.
You can beat Zach.
I fall into the thing of being the guys who just do this, the one thing of kind of taking true crime and making it weird. Like every film we want to do, we want to be different from the last. And I think anyone who's seen Host will realize this is very different from that. Still the same bad taste, but
I'd love to see because the thing is with this is when we put out at the start of the film and then on it says inspired by true events and on the trailer as well. So I'd love for people to sit down and go, oh, it's about this Armin Muse and this should be quite informative and quite good, and then just literally have to sit through the 1.5 hours of pure madness and just come out the other end and either go, well, that was nothing to do with the true story, and then just loosely based around the concept, and then either love it or hate it. I find that's a great way to delve in stuff, not without mis-selling a product to an audience, because there's always those, you see the best things in the trailer and then you watch the film at the cinema and go, I've seen all this and they were the best parts of it. So this is completely different to what you sort of see in the trailer and what you're expecting, I suppose. So it's good to get a slap in the face now and again, and that does resonate with certain people, and they like that it's just so different. And like you say, the rehashing of old stories or the continuous selling of the same product is fine because there's fan bases for it. But then and the guys came up with this unique story in the way it's happens. Obviously, cannibals have been done before, and the Dharma inspiration and things like that is there, but it's totally different. It's a totally different approach, and these guys do this original sort of filmmaking, and they have an original look and they have an original feel to what Rich and Adam do. So, and it's always great working under them and under their direction. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll get some decent audience down the line. I reckon it's coming. It will come.
I think that answers Big T's question a bit as well. That he said, did you guys have conversations with anyone associated with Armin Moose? And it wasn't. The film's not about Armin Moose. It was just inspired by the idea of someone agreeing to be eaten, and that's it. So it's inspired by that, but other than that, it's got nothing to do with the actual story. So there's not really any point kind of going and researching the actual story and stuff like that, because we didn't want to take it the same route or follow the same, beats of the story and stuff. So yeah.
What's more prominent, I think, in this movie, or more important, underneath the entertaining, crazy, funny shit, is the underlying, I guess, seriousness and very relatable story that's happening, that takes from, I guess, several different aspects of mental health, if you will, particularly eating disorders, which people were spoken to about that, and that concept was, or that was always going to be tied in from the get-go. One, the irony is interesting, just around the subject matter of the film in general, and two, it just seemed right and interesting to do. And one, it's not talked about enough. And I happen to have grown up around 3 different people now, grown up around a couple, and happen to know someone else as well that have all had the same thing. So there was a lot of talking to them and getting information from them on that side of things to make sure it was done right and to get that right. So the important side to that, to the film, I feel like, is more the drama aspect and what it really focuses on, which is something really debilitating that many people, particularly eating disorders, mainly women for some reason, but men too, like, suffer with, and just mental health in general, man. It's not talked about enough. So grief and losing people and self-hate and all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. The last few years, best horror movies have been grief based. I mean, very dark drama. Just not even, you could call it a horror movie, but it functions very well as a human drama as well. So did you, when you were shooting, any interesting stories from the set? There's lots and lots of blood in this one, for anybody wondering. There's a lot of limbs. This is not like this brings what you'd expect from a cannibal film, for sure.
I don't know. Have we got interesting stories, guys? It kind of, as much as it was tough, it was we had a limited time to shoot it. We had a house that was kindly lent to us by the lady who plays the police officer, Nadia Lamin. Her granddad had sadly passed away and left her and her mum, the house, and we were able to use that to film in. Interesting stories, I suppose. Me, Rich, and Adam, all 3 of us kitted that whole house out to look like Lionel's flat. So we hand painted the walls. We did all the set design together under Richard's direction. He was sort of took the art direction role, I suppose, as well as the DOP role and director role. So we spent, was it 2 weeks, I think, guys, doing that beforehand, just painting stuff up and everything in one area, and then we finished that area and then move all of the newspapers and popcorn from one room to the other, because we couldn't get enough newspapers and popcorn and bits to just kit the whole place out. I can't think that nothing went badly wrong. There was no sort of, I don't know, like on Hosts, I stuck a knife in my leg, like, for real. That happened. And then this went quite smoothly, but just extremely agonizing and long, grueling days and lack of sleep. So I can't think of anything. Can anyone? Anyone got any interesting stories?
Nothing that went wrong that I can think of.
No.
Because I don't know.
No fish were harmed. They were all cool. They went back to the aquarium. I can't think, man. That's terrible. We should make something up. I spent 2 weeks in with the Yurikin tribe, trying human flesh just for the role.
There you go.
Who we got here?
And,
we got an odd question from Nerdly UK.
Oh.
I don't know if it's odd. Would you guys consider doing a horror-based musical?
I would love to. I would
The
love
Thing, the musical. That would be great.
Definitely.
I think Lionel could, you could bring him back.
Lionel, yeah.
I think a musical would be right up our street, just because we could make it just so ridiculous and just different to what you'd expect from a musical. So,
Be like Book of Mormon or something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of style.
I'd watch.
Yeah, you don't have a lot
the
of
musical
horror
would. The horror music, the Lionel the musical on Broadway with 80% of the stage time is me in my pants, in a wig and glasses, with loads of 6 foot hairy vaginas dancing around.
There you go.
For one bit, and droopy nipples from the rest of the set, and then big fish that just swim. I don't know. I think, and then loads of nugget jeds just with one arm, just sort of slapping around the stage with a fish on him. I don't know. Someone might fund that, I think.
Big T's asking any info on the movie getting a physical release. DVD, January 10th in the US. You can pre-order it now on Amazon.
Yeah. Pre-order 5.
There you go. Christmas presents.
Christmas. Well, you can hold them.
Valentine's gift, perfect.
There you go.
Just in time.
Someone you love.
Well, we with the physical release. I mean, when we were discussing this in England, the only real places you can get DVDs or stuff is a place called HMV or from Amazon now. But the supermarkets used to have DVD shelves and Blu-ray and PlayStation, Xbox games there, and we were all sat around talking when we were in LA about whether we could release it at the end of the freezing the meat section, the fresh meat, and have the DVD in them little polystyrene trays with cellophane around it, and that would be cool if sell the DVD in meat trays just as a cool gimmick
in the freezer. Yeah,
that's it. In the actual freezer.
People don't do enough gimmicks anymore. I mean, I still remember seeing the Frankenhooker VHS asking me if I wanted a date back in the day. So that would be awesome. More gimmicks.
Gimmicks would be great, man. I love them. They help sell. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got another question from Ben Grimm. Would you ever take a job making a franchise sequel? If so, what would your dream franchise be to take a shot at?
Adam?
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I would have loved to have made the idea and done The Exorcist if I was born many, many years earlier, but I wasn't. So I would love to do that. I think that, or even the Nightmare on Elm Street films, I would have. It's all been done before, man. There's no originality anymore, sadly. But I would have loved to have jumped on that and done that. However, I guess if we're talking new stuff, then I would personally love to take the idea of a maybe a not so famous or well known serial killer type thing, but do something like that and just step into the world of one of these people. And make a really interesting, maybe 3-part thing to it. And dare I say, this is, I mean, you'd have to be so careful doing it, but something about I'm waiting for the day that they make a movie, a really, really messed up horror movie. I guess it'd be classed as horror about somebody like Ian Watkins, because that would be such a messed up thing to watch, but extremely fascinating at the same time if it's obviously done right and not in the vein of a Serbian film, of course. But that would be. I don't think it's been done yet because it's dangerous. It's dangerous territory, but yeah, it seems very interesting.
Leonard Lake and Charles Ng
Yeah.
is another really, really fascinating case. I understand adapting like a Bundy or a Gacy, but there's a lot of really untapped cases that I think are fascinating. And
Yeah.
cricket's still out there in the world, so that one's a pretty wild story.
I think there's some crazy ones out there, like don't fuck with cats and stuff. Like there's just weird people that was crazy. I'm sure there's a lot of cases, but I think I would kind of just go more stereotypical classic 80s stuff. Like I'd love to do a decent Critters movie. Like, just making a Critters movie, but to our kind of level of gore and stuff would be really fun.
That would be great.
Or like The Blob, make another remake or a sequel to The Blob or something. Would be fun.
They've been trying to make another Blob. I know Rob Zombie was attached to it at one point, and it fell apart, unfortunately. But that is in the pipeline apparently, so we should get one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a director here, but I wouldn't mind being involved as an actor and being a Thing remake, but with sort of digging up from various places around the world, like finding these people that still do that kind of practical effects, man. Because I think the one thing that let down the prequel or the sequel thing was it was all the CGI was just absolute dog shit. And I'm not a fan of CGI anyway. I understand why it's there, and I understand that it's easier to do stuff, but like with what Rich and Adam do with this film and Host, everything was practical apart from the Rich puts it as like sugar coating, just adding little bits that you have to do, like adding little bits onto frames just to beef it up a bit, maybe. But yeah, to do a Thing for me, that would be great. Like set out in the snow again, like in bleak, just not knowing who's what, and that's always the greatest horror, is not knowing. And that's why that film for me is always going to sit as one of the top films of all time for horror and suspense. So to do it again and use those old techniques with a little bit more updated, modern sort of technology would be fantastic. And I'd love to see that. Love to see that.
Another
so
one.
If anyone's casting anything like that, then hi.
Another one I always wanted to do, but was like because the original was kind of dark, but not as dark as I would want to do it, is the BFG, but do it really dark. But then they brought out that BFG abomination that it was just the worst film I've ever seen, and I was like, All the Witches, that was another one that was a complete disappointment that I would love to have done.
Nah,
they
that
just
movie
take all the darkness out of them now and just make them absolutely lifeless.
Was it a Disney film? Is that why? Was it Disney that did that, or was it just someone with no taste whatsoever?
They used to like
to bash things.
They used to like scaring us as kids. Now they're all soft.
Yeah.
All the old stuff. Return to Oz was one of my first theatrical traumatizations.
The Wheelers, they were creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Yep, the Wheelers. Fuck them.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Disney pick up Feed Me though and put that on the streaming platform. Hey. That would be hilarious. Just sitting next to Fresh.
They could do it as a mistake, like they did, like signing Insane Clown Posse by mistake.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Remember that? Spielberg directed BFG. Okay, I forgot. He did.
Yeah, that was probably one of his.
Was he having a rough time?
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Indiana Jones Temple of Doom bad for him, at least?
Oh, you mean Crystal Skull?
Crystal Skull.
No. I mean when he was going through the divorce and the whole movie was.
Yeah.
No, I don't like Crystal Skull or Last Crusade, and I get hate for Last Crusade, but that's me.
Now, Crystal Skull definitely. Last Crusade, I can see why some people don't like it. It's always been fun. I think it's just because I was a child when I saw it, so it's just sort of nostalgic still. So
yeah, I get that. I don't think it's a bad. It's just Temple of Doom is my favorite.
Oh, by far, man. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. That's 100%.
We don't traumatize kids anymore. I mean, a guy gets his heart ripped out of his chest in that movie. It's PG.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, no, I was gonna say, what do you guys like? What has inspired you? I mean, we kind of talked a little, but I mean, like, what films, like growing up, since we're talking about a little bit about that, what films growing up were like your go-to, like horror film, or even your go-to whatever film?
Well, for me, the first horror movie I ever saw was the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was kind of that I just became horror obsessed after that. Maybe it was the fact that my parents were always into horror films anyway, so I guess it was perhaps unknowingly instilled in me. But yeah, it was that I was about 8 years old and I watched it and just fell in love straight away. And then after that came the Hellraisers and The Exorcist and the Texas Chainsaw and so on and so forth. But nowadays, in terms of storytelling, like I'll always love horror. I'm always looking for a horror that I'm always looking to get freaked out and grossed out and just feel uncomfortable. But in terms of drama, I'm much more into that now, like real, like gritty stories. And one of my favorites nowadays is a guy called Shane Meadows, and he did a thing here called This Is England and Virtues and that just gritty, real stories, real shit happening to real people. And those are horror stories in themselves because it's real life and it's real stuff that happens. So yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, my stuff's probably slightly lighter than Adam's. Like I said, I grew up with Critters and Tremors and The Blob and what's it called? I always have brain farts. But yeah, that kind of those types of films. Always loved those creature features from back in the 80s, early 90s. And then they started becoming CG and they all just fell apart. And there hasn't been a decent creature feature for a long time that I've really enjoyed. But I would love eventually to do one that kind of is back to the old school style. Do you know what I mean? Like that was just fun. But they don't really make them like they used to. I don't know what that is. Maybe it is a nostalgia thing, but for me, they work well. Like Alien was one growing up that I absolutely loved. The first one. I'm one of the few people that growing up preferred the first one to the second one. Just a lot less cheddar involved.
You can't beat that Stilton on top though, man, for Aliens.
I mean,
animals, man.
Like taking Alien and mixing it with Avatar and going, there you go.
Neal, you kind of already answered it with the thing, but was there anything else?
I mean, for me, like, the thing was for me was a big one there. But I kind of, when I was a kid, the sort of dark fantasies were a horror genre in themselves for kids. So like things like Dark Crystal, like the Skeksis were just absolutely terrifying as a kid when I saw that. And the Labyrinth as well, just David Bowie in spandex would terrify anybody. And just those kind of films, again, it's all practical effects. And I think the one thing that was good, I enjoyed it to the point, but I think the storyline could have been a bit better, was the Dark Crystals series, because that was all, again, like very practical and looked great. And the feel of it and the all those kind of dark, weird noises that is, as a child, if you get snatched, the never-ending story, if you're ever separated from your family and things like that is the horror for a child. But growing up, it was definitely the thing that my dad ended up showing me one year, and I fell in love with that and thought it was great. And The Fog as well. I was a big fan of The Fog. Not many people's favorites, but I did enjoy that for just how, again, scary a bit of dry ice under the door could be, and glowing lights was great.
Kind of the ultimate campfire movie.
Yeah.
I watched it for the first time 2 days ago.
Did you?
Wow. Yeah, my kids they've watched it for years because my wife's really into The Fog, and they've been trying to get me to watch it for years, and I've just never found the time. And then I went to a film festival. They're playing Feed Me there, and they're playing The Fog before Feed Me, and I was like, all right, I'll take my son to the cinema and we'll watch The Fog. And yes, that was the first time I watched it. I do think there's an element that maybe I should have watched it when I was younger. I don't think it's Carpenter's best, but
it's not got legs nowadays. It's very dated, but I think then when you're a kid watching it does.
The music.
I'm glad you've seen it now, dude.
The music, though, is still some of my favorite Carpenter music.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Music. And I think it's great that he still does the music. Like on the new Halloween, he still did the music.
He made me enjoy the new Firestarter, which isn't very good. Just his music alone kept me interested.
Yeah. I suppose we should shout out the music on Feed Me as well. So
yes.
Ben Simons, Rory and Sean who are in Adam's in a band as well, who does the end credits for Feed Me. The two of his bandmates helped on some of the score as well. But yeah, shout out to Ben, Rory, and Sean for an amazing job on Feed Me, because that really helped us with selling some of the atmospherical moments, which is including the catwalk, pants, underpants show, tighty whitey show. Number one in several countries.
Yeah, I rewatched the film last night in preparation for the interview, and it still holds up great. I think it's definitely one that's going to catch on. It's funny you mentioned Carpenter, because people forget a lot of those movies were not like immediate hits, but they stayed out there. They became huge on video. I mean, The Thing, we think of it as this huge hit, but it did find its audience, and I definitely think Feed Me is going to as well.
They told us that last night on the podcast, which I didn't realize that apparently Terrifier, the first one, didn't really do much until it got down to a £3 sale or $3 sale, and then it started exploding. And now, obviously, going into Terrifier 2 and stuff, which we're on the same sales agent with. We really respect those guys, and they're doing, they're going gangbusters now with that.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's. I think it's one of those things where we don't have the money to get it in everyone's faces on social media everywhere. So I think it will be a slow burn of builds, hopefully. But we have been told by quite a few people that it should find its home. So hopefully.
We had talked to David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, and he was telling me that Terrifier, people liked it. It's a $30,000 movie, so obviously, they didn't have a lot of means, but it hit streaming and exploded. And now it's so wild. Terrifier 2 is still showing in some theaters now, and it's 10 times its budget at this point, Todd?
Yeah,
something
crazy,
like that.
man.
Yeah,
I think more than that. It was $250,000.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah,
it's made
And I think it's up
5.2.
to about 15 million or something now, or something crazy. It's made. So
yeah, it's wild. I think it's kind of a revolutionary time for independent horror movies to see. So, I mean, who would have thought? And it's not just the big franchises anymore. Even something like Smile, a studio film that did gangbusters here. I mean, it was huge. So
their marketing was great, man. Like I loved what they did with that. We were talking about trying to do something. Adam had brought up several times whether we should try and do something. Obviously, we haven't got the £1 million marketing campaign to play with, but we thought of doing that. But just sticking smiling people at the back of the baseball game, like in view of millions of people, that's great. Even if she got told off halfway through, like through the by the security to sit down, you know what I mean? She suddenly came out of acting and went, "Oh, sorry," which is great. But it did the job, man. And it's you get like I love what they're doing with the Terrifier, where they put this disclaimer up that people have passed out and have been vomiting in the cinema. And then you go, how much of that is true? Or like maybe if you speak to your friends and go, I watched it in a cinema full of people and no one passed out, but you just don't know what's true. So when you put something out like that out, if you say, oh, this film's banned in the US, you're not allowed to watch it, people are going to search it out when it is finally unbanned. Like with the Serbian film that got banned straight away.
Yeah,
I went to see a screening of that when it was at Raindance in the UK. And they couldn't sell tickets for it, but you could sign up and sign a disclaimer to go and watch it because it was banned. But then when it came out, everyone wants to see a banned film. So it's like saying you can't do something. I'll go, you can't tell me I can't do that. So I want to do it. So
it's kind of like the video nasties became a checklist of what you need to watch.
Yeah, exactly that. But so we kind of wanted to try and do something that with us. But I think that the filmmaking with Feed Me, it sells itself, man. I think the way that guys came up with the story so deep and traumatic, and then mixed in that element of comedy, which wasn't played for comedy ever when we were filming it. It just becomes funny when we were being serious. And there were so many little moments that haven't made the final cut of Feed Me, which we kind of hope get out there someday. I mean, whether they'll get asked to do the 2.5 hour long edit that we had originally on a director's cut. I don't know how that'll work, but maybe one day in 20 years' time when we're desperate for cash.
Terrifier 2 had 2.5 hours, and for the most part, people were good with it. So, yeah,
isn't it like a kill every 5 minutes? Is it or something like that?
It's a big body count for sure. How are theaters doing in the UK right now? In general, or did they sort of survived COVID? Is it not the same, or?
I think they've done all right. It seems kind of almost back to normal, as far as I'm aware. I haven't been that many times, but I went to see the new Top Gun. Not the goriest film that I was expecting, but yeah.
People were passing out though.
Falling asleep. It was all right. But yeah, it seems like there's still cinema goers. I don't know. I think
it's more for the Marvel stuff, though, isn't it? It's more for the big budget studio stuff. As soon as that's out in the cinemas, everyone flocks to it. They make a killing from Marvel, anything DC, anything superhero based, and then the big studio films like the Top Guns and things like that. I think it killed a lot of just people going out and being afraid to go out with the COVID thing was a huge problem. But now that's sort of no one seems to give a shit in England anymore about it. You can wander anywhere, you can do whatever you want. So Spain, when we went to some of our festivals with Feed Me, was you had to wear masks on the plane still, and in taxis and buses and things like that. Not that we take taxis or buses, we get chauffeured everywhere after after the success of this. But yeah, it's slowly getting back there. I think there's not enough promotion in like the indie side of stuff. There's a few smaller cinemas that went under in the UK and around London that couldn't survive on it. A lot of people were holding back their content and their films because of waiting for it to get back to normal so that the investors could make all their money back, and they would lose a huge chunk of that from revenue from box office. But the VOD is the way everything's going now. Even with XYZ, they're saying it's a very VOD heavy world, and then you'll get your streaming platforms after you've released VOD, and then all that, and then physical comes for the hardcore fans that want to something physical and in their hands, which is something we're all passionate about here. I know we want physical because we want to see our product in a DVD case with our names all over it. So
don't we all?
I will definitely be picking it up.
Yeah.
January 10th again, right, Todd?
Yes, it's already on pre-order on Amazon.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty reasonably priced. So you guys out there definitely want to lock that in. You won't be sorry.
And how
much is it listed for on Amazon? Like $10 or something?
Well, I looked that up. Available. It is available now on VOD for purchase, rental, on pretty much everywhere. It's Amazon, Vudu. I don't know the UK streaming services, but I know it's on everything here.
Yeah,
sweet. As long as it is out there, we can't see over here because of like the VPNs and stuff. We can't see American content as easy, so we can't see what's going on.
Pre-order right now is $18.99. It's the list price, but I'm sure it'll go down closer to release.
Wow,
there you go.
Decal is releasing in the US. Okay.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah, Decal, right, lovely. Because we had a Canadian, I can't remember who our Canadian releases were when we were talking about that. We were really, really chuffed that it's getting physicals and stuff, so that's great.
All right, well, what do you guys have upcoming that you can talk about?
Something. There's a project. We have something written before Feed Me actually, but we sort of put it. We were kind of slowly developing it and almost ready to start looking for funding with our other producer Ed over in the States, but Feed Me came about and we did that, and it was much easier to do Feed Me because it's a much lower budget, extremely low budget, and we managed to do it for that. And we figured perhaps actually doing Feed Me, we want to do it anyway because we're passionate about it, but perhaps doing it will actually help us get the budget that we want for this bigger movie, because it does require, for the way we want to do it, it does require a significantly larger budget. So that's kind of ready, almost to kind of start developing properly and hopefully going into pre-production if the parties interested want to take it further with us. So there is something in the works that I'm sure we'll be getting our teeth sunk into in the early months of next year. That's all we can really say on it, to be honest.
All right.
Well, we will definitely cover it, whatever it is. We're very excited to check out everything you guys have coming up.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, dude. Plug the band as well, Adam, while you're there, because you've got some releases of that. Why not drop that in there? Because it is the end credits song. Get that in there.
Oh well, we're we're a rock band or a metal band, whatever you want to call us, from London, and we're called In Search of Sun. And you can check out the latest release from us on YouTube. It's the music video for the end credit song to Feed Me, and it's called Contagious. So yeah, check it out if you're into rock music.
Awesome. And we have a silly question, but this comes from Slasher Home Video, another podcast.
Just saw that.
I'll ask it. Favorite pizza topping?
I'll go first on this. I just saw that and I was about to say I want to answer this question, but I discovered the other day I use a wrap instead of like a pizza base. I use just a wrap, like a wholemeal wrap with chicken chorizo and sriracha mayo, which Adam and his partner Sam introduced me to, and just squirt of that all around with some like nice tomato puree, nice little salt, tomato saucy base, chicken chorizo cheese, a little bit of grated pecorino on the top with that sriracha mayo. Boom, bada bing.
That sounds great. There you go, Chris.
I like what's called, I don't know if it's the same in America, but in the UK it's called an American hot, which is pepperoni with jalapenos on. But I also like to throw some pineapple on top. That's going to kill everyone.
Get in the bin. Get in the bin.
See, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll do that pizza, or I'll do, instead of the pineapple, I'll do sausage. I'll go back and forth depending if I want it sweet or spicy.
Yeah.
Pineapple for me as well, man. That's the great.
Damn it.
Man.
And
It's
Slasher
great.
Home Video, yeah. If you've got the podcast, we'll come on as well. We're enjoying everyone's podcast at the moment.
There you go.
Yeah, it's what does Slasher do? Are they a podcast as well, or are they?
Yes. There's a lot of podcasters in this community that also support each other. So absolutely,
Nice.
I'm sure Chris would love that.
Well, we love supporting people like yourselves and all these kind of true horror fans, the podcasts and anything. That's what I say. Me and Rich are usually on like Google search control, and we're just messaging each other like reviews and stuff that come out. Sometimes gives us a depressive evening, or gives us a real good evening, like we watched yours. So we're happy to jump on and reach as many people. And if we've got the time, which we usually do in the evenings, because we're not doing I'm not doing too much at the minute, but yeah, we'd love to come on and do that. But when they said home video, it's like there was we were talking last night, and this is a bad plug I'm going to do, but there's a little straight to VHS little video shop near my hometown in Derby, and they just rent VHSs and sell VHSs of like old films, 80s sort of horror and nostalgic stuff. And they sent a message of a day saying, would I go and do a signing up there in their store? But then the wife of the owner has made a Lionel Flack figure in a little box. They've made a box figure, and I was over the moon. But we were wondering we should maybe try and do a line of Jeds and Lionels and the fish, like little action figures and stuff. Let's see if we can. Here you go. Look what these guys did. This is absolutely. Whoop.
Wow, that is awesome.
That is cool.
Just in his Y fronts and the cow shirt he wears during the dress up scene.
That's
absolutely
cool.
Brilliant. So
That
we
is.
love like helping out sort of people doing these little kind of things that are cool, man, and things like that. So
Yeah, we
we're all
have
about the fans.
Yeah, we have Videodrome in Atlanta, which is
Okay.
one of the only places that still does VHS as well. So I know they do. I think the Christmas Cruelty guys are going to be there, right, Todd? So,
I'm not sure yet.
or maybe not to commit them to it, but yeah.
But Brian said he's stoned, so he wanted us to repeat the band name. So it was In Search of Sun.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So he was stoned.
Well, Richard DOP's quite a few metal bands and things like that. So, Richard, what you got? Anything you're allowed to say you're working on, Rich? Some videos to look out for.
I'm currently working on Tesseract's album release, the studio behind the scenes kind of thing. Just got off tour with Amon Amarth. I don't know if you guys know Amon Amarth. Kind of Viking metal. Filmed
3 Sleep Token videos.
Sleep Token videos, Lamb of God. Yeah, just a few things. Hopefully next year's got some cool things lined up, which I can't really say at the moment, but should be pretty big.
Awesome.
Sun as in S-U-N, Ben.
Yeah, not that son.
No, yeah.
I'm in search of my son. Has anyone seen him?
Pug sent in a question, or a statement. Well, he said he'd like to see a Lucy Letby story from you guys.
No.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm
What's
not familiar
that?
with that case.
If
He
it's
needs to come back on and
I
explain.
know. Well, we'll have you back on when Pugs is available too.
Oh,
Like,
bless him. Yeah, I feel really
yeah.
bad that he's not been able to make it because, again,
His work schedule's a little off right now, so
we'll schedule around him next time.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll make sure. I mean, he said something that was something like, I deserved an Oscar for that. And I was like, whoa, dude, that's incredible. So he won me over straight away with that. So is there a power cut, Todd? Is it? We just lost light.
okay. I guess she was in a prenatal unit, and she murdered babies.
I'm just reading it now.
funding might be rough on that one.
Sounds like
Nurse
something
Wow.
Pugs would want to see a film about.
For the murder of 7 babies and attempted murder of 10 others, told a colleague the death of a newborn on her night shift could have happened to any baby. What was that? There we go. I'll get the script. The script
And it'll
writes.
be a musical.
There's
Yeah,
Brian-
the scripter's son looking for a child was like, we were writing a story once about some these parents that lost their child, and we said it should be called In Search of Son.
We got another question from Big T. What are the possibilities of ever doing a sequel to Feed Me, portraying a whole new individual and story?
Probably unlikely. Just to be. I mean, if it really blew up, then yeah, for sure, man. You know that we'd be open to the idea. I'm sure there are plenty of. There is a lot to Lionel Flack's character and backstory that was only touched upon in the first film. So if if it does end up being the first of multiple films, then great. I feel like if we did do a sequel, if that ever happened one day, then yeah, it would probably go into more about Lionel and where he comes from and that seriously troubled childhood that contributed or was the catalyst for him becoming who he is today, or who he is in the world of Feed Me. But it all depends, man. You know, if the film does well enough and if it calls for it, yeah, wouldn't say no.
Lionel
I'm gonna
Flack's
say-
American Road Trip, I think it should be. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
With Lionel Flack outrunning the police like Thelma and Louise.
With one like pirate eye because he's missing one and blah blah blah. I actually, strangely, you asked that. I was after the podcast yesterday. I had a dream last night that we got funded for a prequel, and it explored the home life of Lionel and his mum. But his mum was played by Helena Bonham Carter because she's about 20 years older than me or something like that. Would kind of work
Love that.
quite well. And it was dark and deep, and it had like a real hereditary feel to it. And it wasn't funny in the way of like how Feed Me is, but it went really dark and deep. And I'd lost like 6 stone and became like Christian Bale and the mechanic or the machinist, whatever it's called. And it was dark, and it just showed everything. And there was like a scene where he shaves his head. And it was like a whole film I had in my head whilst I was asleep. So yeah, Helena Bonham Carter, you're in the chat room, I can see. So yeah, if you're free, that would get us a budget for it if she was playing that. But yeah,
There's also a
I'd
versus.
love to.
So Ben brings up a versus movie where you meet Ted Lasso.
Yeah, man, we'll just do it. No, I'm going to call him out, and we're going to do a UFC fight anyway.
There you
If those two brothers can do boxing matches, I'm going to call out Jason Sudeikis for a UFC fight and lose probably.
And love the idea of a prequel. So
there we go.
Sorry, Dan. No, Lionel Flack is just. I think it's. The guys served me up a unique opportunity as an actor to actually play a character like that. I think any actor would literally lose their shit if they got sent that script and got asked to play that part. So it sits really. I've got a huge place in my heart for Lionel Flack. So to be able to play him again, I suppose it's these big Hollywood actors that get to like Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow. It's like you become and you enjoy what you do with it. So he's the start of something for me to delve into more character-based performances, I think. And it's given me a big spur on to do those kind of things, especially in how out there his persona is, but how deep it is at the same time, which is always a conflicting thing to try and do as an actor and play it both well, if you know what I mean, have that seriousness as well as the comedy there. So yeah, he's an iconic thing in my head. So I'd never say no, but time will tell.
I think by this time next year, I'll predict it. I think you'll have a Terrifier situation where maybe this is gonna really blow up. The more people that get to see it, I definitely think you guys will have a big hit on your hands. And anybody listening, once again, check it out. It is unique. It's not, a movie that you've seen 20 times this week. It's very, very good. It's very, very, I think, special. And I think it's going to find its audience for sure as the time goes on.
And it's a
The real
$6.
name's not Nostradamus, is it, Dan? Just
I'll predict it. I feel good about this one.
It's a $6 rental on Amazon. Check it out. But Dan's right. Once it hits like streaming, like a Shudder, I don't know where it's going to land.
Yeah.
With something, even Tubi, it'll the word of mouth will
it starts to spread. Yeah,
you can tell when something hits streaming now because that's all the community wants to talk about. So
yeah,
hopefully when that happens,
I think the plan is it's hopefully hitting streaming in January for you guys. Okay. So we're hoping the same, that it will find its audience when it hits streaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's less pressure on audiences to when they can stream for free because they're paying a subscription, or I don't know how Tubi works over there. I know Shudder's a subscription based. Yeah. So you've got less to lose, I suppose. There is a pandemic and recession over here, and I don't know how it is in America so much, but yeah, people, the more eyes that can watch it for free for us is a good thing. And it is all about eyes on it. We appreciate everybody who has, if they've already seen the film and downloaded it and paid for it. We appreciate the money that you've spent. So yeah, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because we're just three idiots from England trying to do something fun each time, and we have a lot of fun doing it and a lot of hard times trying to make these things. But again, it's thank you to anyone who's paid for it and watched it. And if you hate it, thanks as well, because we got your money.
$5.99 on Amazon to rent too. Can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. We didn't realize how bad the pound is to the dollar when we went to LA for the Beyond Fest premiere. Like a packet of like Doritos over here, like the big share bag, is about £1.50, and in America it's like $4.50 in Walmart. Now the pound is pretty much the dollar at the moment, so we were paying nearly £4.50, which I suppose in your money would be like $10 for a packet of Doritos. We were like, what the hell? Woo!
It's bad.
Yeah.
So we do have a request, Todd, in the chat, but not to put any pressure on you.
Which one is it?
Wants you to do the Lionel Flack voice.
That's on you. You don't have to be a performing monkey. But
yeah, so this is Nerdly. This is our friend though. This is our friend Kevin. I think this is Kev. If that is
okay.
I'm sure it is. But I suppose I could do that for you, especially now. I suppose if you wanted to, I'd do that for you, Kevin. Waiting for you to get us on your podcast as well. Maybe you could. That's what you're getting.
There you go.
Oh, and Ben also pointed out that was LA prices for the chips.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they're a little. I'm probably 20 miles out of LA, and it's like $3 maybe.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh man.
It's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
Expensive, man. Very expensive.
They tasted good though. They've got all like different flavors for the same flavors, or different names for the flavors we have over here.
Yeah, we have our extra chemicals, preservatives too.
Yeah, everything looks brighter in America, man. It's all like glowing at you. Like them cheesy Doritos looked cheesy, man. They were.
Yeah, I found it amazing that like there was a packet of crisps, and I don't know if it's different there, but in the UK, like preservatives and flavors and all that is like no go. Like every packet of crisps is like, we don't have any of that. And then I just went into Walmart, I think it was, and there's a packet of crisps that says contains extra extra added flavors and colors, and it was like
All the
they're
E numbers
literally
you can eat.
promoting it as that. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't beat as a kid. Like we had Smarties over here that like were amazing as a kid. They were in tubes, and you could like pop this little plastic cap off, and the colors on the Smarties were bright as hell, man. And then you'd have them, and then 20 minutes later you'd be crawling the walls and bouncing around like high on E numbers. And now they just look like depressed. The Smarties look like beige, like they've been left on the shelf in the sun, and they've just sort of faded. And then you're like, oh great, these taste amazing. Well, oh nah, America was great for that. Cheetos and salsa dips, cheese, like the proper cheese, like hot dog cheese and melted cheese, that kind of
Oh,
stuff
it's
is
amazing.
amazing.
The nacho cheese in America.
That's it, nacho cheese.
Hot pocket. The greatest thing I've ever had was a hot pocket.
Hard pockets.
They don't do them here. Can't find them here.
Oh wow.
They were great though, man. They were. You had about 4 in one go at one night when you were sat just eating hot pockets.
Amazing. It's so good.
Well, which flavor hot pocket? So that's the question.
They were just I had like the cheese and tomato ones.
Okay.
What other flavors do you have out there?
Well, I know there's like the pepperoni pizza. There's ham and cheese. There's tons of flavors.
There's artificial color and flavorings flavor.
They have breakfast hot pockets now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I saw the breakfast ones, but we didn't. Then Adam came back with these cheesy tomato ones, and I was like, I couldn't find them anywhere else in the freezer section because I was too busy looking at steaks. I just kept buying steak and having steak and eggs for breakfast because the steak out there was ridiculous, really good.
Big T's throwing out his favorite hot pocket: Philly cheesesteak, barbecue chicken, pretzel crust.
That sounds like a shopping list.
Right.
Just a little bit of everything going on there.
Oh man.
So yeah, well, before we go, once again, guys, you can pre-order and we'll do some posts for that. Yeah. You can pre-order the movie now. Feed Me on Amazon. You won't be sorry. $5.99 on Amazon. You've got a lot of ways to watch it now. You'll have even more ways to watch it over the next month or so. So please do. It gets the Flesh Wound recommendation, and I think you're going to be very, very happy.
And I will drop that link in the chat for everyone watching, listening.
There you go.
Yeah, all guys, right. Thank you ever so much for that. That's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for coming on. I'm glad you guys reached out because we did really like the film, and we're glad we got to talk to you guys.
Yes.
Man. Thank you.
Everyone, give it a good review on Letterboxd or IMDb because we're
there you go.
Yes.
Getting a mixed bag. So
yeah, if you guys like it, always take time to review it out there. It does mean a lot. Even if you just and remember on IMDb you can also just do a star review. So if you don't feel like writing something, that also helps filmmakers a lot more than you would think.
Also, Letterboxd, you don't have to write a review. You can just star rate it also.
Yeah.
Anybody
So-
Rotten Tomatoes accredited as well, that we'd appreciate that being started, because it needs, is it 2 or how many Rotten Tomatoes
40,
accredited
I think it
reviewers?
needs, and we've got 2.
No, it just needs a few to start them on there, because you can't see the
No, the
User
audience ones
reviews.
are up now. They're up now. There's 3.
oh, they are up now.
Yeah. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. And it's pretty good. I think it's 3 positive reviews on it.
Is it
Well,
my
we'll-
mum, my dad, and my sister?
we'll make sure we add ours.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for having
All
us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll
thank
have you
It's been a
back.
pleasure, man.
Yes, for sure. We'll-
Yeah. And get Pugs out of work. Get him fired. or something.
Yeah.
he's missing the quarantine, guys. But
Oh, bless him.
all right. Well, thank
All
you.
right, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys back here. Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday show, right, Todd? I think we got
Well,
next. Jack
no,
Frost. I'm
you
skipping.
skipped over Home Sweet Home watch along.
Home Sweet Home Watch Along, one of the only Thanksgiving slashers. So,
This
yeah,
Wednesday.
guys. This Wednesday, Jack Frost 1 through 2 commentary. It's not Christmas until you see Shannon Elizabeth, get assaulted by a snowman in a tub. So there you go. And on that note, what better way to end it? Good night.
Good night.